Okay, Abinadi, how you doing? Hey, let me respond to your video in a video. Does that work? Okay, so here's what I've got is I put your data into this spreadsheet here and here. I've also added the forecast sales here. I've also got the ending inventory and the total employees before January. And let's just walk through this example here of looking at how many employees do we need to hire or fire, and if necessary, if there's any overtime or subcontract production that we need to add in order to achieve our costs here. So I've zeroed out these values in these yellow cells, and let's walk through this here for a second. Okay, so this, as we did in class, we have a little formula here to help us identify how many people we need to hire or fire to make sure that our ending inventory is zero. So if we remember in the chase strategy, which is number two is asking about the chase strategy. Um, We want the ending inventory to always be zero every month. We want everything that we make is going to be sold, um, and we're not going to have any shortages. So let's put 44 here. What this means is I'm going to use that 44 that was down here, and that's going to say, okay, if we hire 44 people the month of January, that means we're going to leave January with zero inventory. We're going to use our previous inventory. We're going to produce 50,800, and that combined is going to allow us to meet our forecasted sales for January. So that's January. And once we get to February, what happens? Well, this says with the current employment of 254 for February, we're going to overproduce what demand is. So we actually need to fire one person here. So that's what this formula represents. We're just taking that ending inventory, dividing by the regular units per employee to find out what our employee changes here. We're going to fire one person, and then that's going to get us down to a zero inventory for the month of February. What does March look like? Looks like we need to hire 14 more. See how the demand is increased from February to March? And so we need to increase our production. The way to do that is to hire 14. And sure enough, that's going to empty our inventory down to zero for March. For April, we need to decrease our production because demand is going down. So we're going to fire 8 people, and that will give us an inventory of zero. And for the last 2 months here, this is what we're going to look at. May has huge demand. Look at that, 60,000 is a forecasted sales. Now here's the dilemma. If we produce 60,000, we're going to go above the maximum production limit, which is 54,400. So there's a limit to how much we can produce here. So let's say we produce 15. See, that's already, if we hire 15 people, that's already above the maximum regular production. So we can't even hire 15 here. What if we hire 8? That actually puts us at our maximum production. So this says we can only hire 8 people because we can't produce more than 53.4. So what do we have to do to meet this extra demand? Is we have to choose between overtime and subcontract production. That means we're going to either pay for our employees to work overtime, or we're going to subcontract it out. Somebody else is going to build it for us. Now, which one's cheaper? We come up to here, and this says that subcontracting is cheaper at $37 an hour. So we're going to max out our subcontract production here, if we need to make that 6,600 units. So if we look over here, sure enough, the max subcontractor production is 5,400. So I'm going to put 5,400 in this cell. But we still have 1,200 units to produce more. So I'm going to put 1,200 in this cell in our overtime production, which is fine because we're less than the maximum here for overtime production. But with hiring 8 employees and doing some extra production and overtime and subcontract, we have an inventory balance of zero for May, which is a good sign. And then finally for June, we have a shortage. Let's see, no, we have too much. So right now we are scheduled to produce 53,400. We only need 45,400. So we're going to do some firings. How many to fire? This says we're going to fire 40 employees, and that will reduce our production so that we sell everything that we produce, and we have no ending inventory left over. Now let's come over and check our cost numbers here, see where we're at. So these cost numbers will be different than the ones in your video. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't see this in your video, the chase numbers here. All I saw was the cost numbers. But these cost numbers, of course, are driven by this table. So let me know if this video helps. Look at these numbers, see if these numbers help, and I'm happy to talk more. Hopefully this is helpful. Thanks. Good luck.